Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Javier, who I actually interviewed a couple of years ago after he had dropped out of grad school and pivoted into a career in digital marketing. He took my course against the wishes of his family, and his entire community was pressuring him, telling him it was a waste of time, digital marketing wasn't worth it, he needed to get a master's degree. He didn't listen to them, he pushed forward, got an entry-level job in digital marketing, and I interviewed him about that before. Now he is making six figures working for the Home Depot. Now, someone might say, hey, you're working for Home Depot. No, he's not a sales associate on the floor. He's actually managing the advertising for $1 billion international company. And he's working remotely. He loves his new career. He is so happy that he dropped out of grad school. And he's really, he has a great enthusiasm. I'm really excited to share his story with you. Thanks for being here, Javier.
Well, I'm glad, good to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk to you again, the padrinho, or in Portuguese, the godfather of digital marketing, as I like to say.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's great to talk to you again as well. So for people who don't remember you, we're going to get into how, your incredible story of how you got here. But what is your position right now? What job are you working at right now?
So currently I'm an associate media manager for Home Depot. So I'm managing the ads, Google Ads campaigns nationwide. So it's a bigger job, but with the skills we learn in the course, it makes everything easy. I tell you what.
That's great, dude. You said you're paid social or paid search?
Paid search, so Google Ads.
Ads. You said paid social by accident.
Oh,
But it's easy to easy to confuse the two. And you say you're working for Home Depot. So like this is $1 billion company, and
this is true.
can you share like about how much ad spend you're in charge of, just roughly?
Well, I would say that it's in the millions of dollars, over 35 million probably. And of course, it differentiates depending on the time of the year. I can't go into the exact numbers, but let's just say it's over $20 million guaranteed.
Wow. That is a far cry from when you ran your first campaigns when you were taking the course, and you're just
That's right.
a few $100s. But that's really amazing. And your salary, I know you didn't want to get too specific, but you are making six figures or over six figures?
Oh, over six figures. Very, very comfortable life. I like to add that as well.
That's so great, man. And where are you living right now?
So I live in the mountains of East Tennessee. It's a funny story, actually. Before I moved over here, I was actually living in the mountains of Virginia, Southwest Virginia, in like one of the most beautiful landscapes, Damascus, Virginia. But to have quicker internet, I came to East Tennessee. So actually got a nice mountain view in the backyard. It's nice. I used to live in Atlanta. Having the nice mountain view definitely keeps you motivated.
Absolutely. I can attest to that. And so, I mean, you're a far cry from where you were when I met you a while back. So you have this great job. You're making really good money. You're living in a beautiful place. You enjoy the work, right? You enjoy the job?
Oh yes, if I had to compare it to what I was doing before with research and in graduate school versus what I'm doing right now, it's beyond night and day. Just in terms of the stress, the work-life balance, the things you could do, the freedom, the things you could learn, the people you can talk to. It's beautiful. I enjoy my job greatly right now.
That's so great, man. And I'm so happy for you. And you alluded to it, but now let's get into it. So like, for people who aren't familiar with you, what were you doing when you first discovered my course? What was going on in your life?
I was doing a master's program in nanotechnology and agriculture, and I spent probably 80 to 90 hours in a lab working with nanoparticles and nanotechnology, trying to manipulate things to get it to grow faster. Now, of course, it was successful. I got a paper published and it worked, but I saw down the line that I don't want to spend my whole life in a lab around toxic chemicals. So I was kind of frustrated with what I was seeing in the graduate school, seeing the opportunities, especially in terms of salary once I finished. I started looking online for different things I could do, and I found Seth. Like, I give it a try. Eventually went with it. Best decision I made in my entire life. I can tell you that right now. Because what came from it, just from that small investment in the beginning, the lifestyle, it came from it, living where I want to live, traveling where I want to travel. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But I'm so happy that I made the decision to drop out of graduate school and pursue digital marketing. Because now when I actually go back to talk to my my coworkers, lab assistants, people that work with me in the lab in graduate school. Let's just say during the pandemic, it wasn't pretty. And even after the pandemic, it's still not pretty. Let's just put it that way. So it's a big difference.
Wow. So I have a lot of positive on your end, and we'll get. I want to share with people a little bit more about the story because it's really interesting for people who are in grad school and that whole world. But you alluded to the fact that your colleagues who stuck with it didn't drop out and they stayed with in this program. They didn't have the financial stability or the options that you had. Now during COVID, just since you brought it up, during COVID, what was it like for you? Did you still have a job?
It was, to be honest, during COVID, I didn't, in terms of like job recession or whatever, I didn't even notice there was a job recession. Like it didn't even, for like, this might sound a little bit sadistic or not as amicable towards other people, but like I saw people struggling with finding a job, looking for a job, trying to get paid, worried about bills for next month or whatever. But for me, it was nothing changed. It was pretty much the exact same as before. Actually, what I would say with COVID, what I found when I was like looking at different opportunities, talking to recruiters, because of COVID, a lot of companies actually realized the importance of going to a digital platform to market their products. So the jobs for digital marketing during COVID actually increased, so much so that a lot of companies, right, even to right now, are still having trouble finding good people to work for them. So the jobs actually increased for digital marketing, increased during COVID. And for me, it was peaceful. I mean, it was as unfortunate. I know a lot of people lost their jobs and it was hard for them, but for the digital marketing industry, it was booming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know what you're saying, and we don't mean to sound callous at all. We definitely, of course, feel for people. It was a really rough time for everybody. But that's why we share the importance of having the proper skill sets. And because you had a skill set that was in demand and you made that decision, you were very comfortable, which has been the experience of a lot of people in digital marketing. And I think that's going to also be the case if there is a recession. I talked about that in another video. So let's dive. I want to really, especially for people in the course, people considering the course, I really want to illustrate what you dealt with to get where you are today. Because now you're obviously very comfortable, but your life was totally different. I mean, you said 80 to 90 hours a week working in a laboratory, getting paid. I think you said that when you averaged out the pay, what were you getting paid per hour by the school?
$2.75 an hour or less. $2.75.
$2.75 an hour as a research, like a lab assistant or what was it, research assistant?
Research assistant, yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. I mean, that's not even minimum wage. That's crazy. And it was, it sounded like you were getting burned out. You're around toxic chemicals. And so then you found this course and then you decided you did want to make a change. And what was it like for you? Where were you living? What was your family's attitude towards this?
I was living down in Texas, a real community down there. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are afraid of things that they don't understand and they don't know. So the minute I decided to, of course, I'm also an immigrant, Jamaican background, so first generation American. And getting the opportunity, and I like to add also that there's a lot of pushback. And let me give some more detailed why. Is because in terms of college, I found college very easy in terms of like the schoolwork, the research. It was a piece of cake, I'll be honest with you, in terms of like the mental capacity to do it, but the time and the waste of your life, that's where it really took a toll. So I had pretty much a full paid ride from master's to PhD, and everyone was saying, go for PhD, because like, just for example, it got a paper published within 3 months. Most people take a year for a manuscript. So my parents, my friends, families, pastors, everyone was saying, stay in school, go for PhD, because it was a full ride. And then you hear it, and like, oh, if I only had this caring mothers, if I had this opportunity back when I was in my other country, I would have jumped on it. And then the guilt trip, stuff like that. So I had to make a decision. And I talked to a lot of kids that are trying to get into the field. You have to make a decision. Do you have the moxie, the chutzpah, the cojones to go forward when everyone tells you it's not going to work? And that's the biggest thing I say we learned from the course, because in the course, you're taught to be a self-learner and a self-starter, which even from working right now, like interviewing people, training people, I found that even working with different people in other companies too, that I would say 98% of people are not self-starters or self-learners. And the reason that they're not is because they went through the college education system. No, not to bash universities, but that's just the reality. So in terms of pushback, everyone in my family said, don't do it. all of my friends were saying, "You're crazy." My professor is saying, "Don't you look at me? If you say you could be like me, making six figures, working in a lab." I was like, that's what he told me then. He can see the future. And they were saying, stay in school, but I had to make a decision. Do I want to go with what they say is the guaranteed return on investment with this PhD, whatever, or do I want to go with what my research and what the market is telling me, which is we're going to a digital economy? So I decided to go to digital economy. I did a complete drop out of my master's program. And the funny thing is, each time I tried to drop out, it took me 3 times to try and drop out. Each time I tried to drop out, they threw more money at me, or more perks, or I could work less. You only got to come in the lab 1 day a week. But I was like, why would I take these instant gratification, transitory pleasures over the possibility of having the freedom that I want down the line? So I just dropped out completely. And I had to make it. Then that was the first decision. And of course, after I dropped out, you can only imagine the looks, the stares. It was so bad that even like pastors at the church would say a prayer, and they'd throw my situation. Oh, these ungrateful kids that come from another country and they don't want to take the opportunity to get to college. Oh, please help them. Like, I knew he was talking about me, but that is
wait, hold on. This is great. You're saying that what your pastor gave a sermon during church about you?
Well, he didn't say my name, but he would mention ungrateful kids that come from immigrant parents that don't take the opportunities that they work so hard and fought to get by staying in school. Oh, may the Lord have mercy on them. And I was like, okay, well, it's not just like family, it's family, church, friends, coworkers.
Yeah, I remember. I'm gonna just jump in here for a second, because guys, I remember when I talked to you back then, and I want to, for anybody who's in the course or going to take the course, if you have any pushback, you gotta just use Javier as an inspiration, man. This guy, it wasn't just a little bit of a comment here or there. These guys, your family was on you every day, weren't they?
It was so much that when I was doing the course, I'd be studying, then people would come to the house and say things, say stuff like, "What if it doesn't work?" And it's not that it's not that you can't handle it, but our brains only have so much ability to process things throughout the day. So if someone is always telling you, like, for example, if you want to paint a house, you're never going to paint it, you're never going to paint it, you're never going to paint it. If you keep listening to that, although you don't believe it, eventually it will affect you. So I'll start getting those kind of comments. So I had to actually go to a different location to like spend 8 hours there just studying, then come back home and not talk about it. And I'll say one funny thing, like after I actually got my first job in Atlanta, I called my mom and told her, and then what they said is, "Wow, I can't believe it actually worked." So, even after I sent the offer letter, but it's because a lot of people are afraid of what they don't understand and they can't see. And especially back then, digital marketing, like not many people knew about it. I think even right now, not many people know about it, and it wasn't taught in the schools. So yeah, it was pushback. But like I said in the first video, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everybody. And I could tell you that for a fact, because since I got into this field, I've had the opportunity to help other people, to help my family pay for things, be financially stable for other people as well. And doing that is a good reward already right there. If I didn't take the decision back then, I would not have been able to help my family in the way that I helped them. Like in terms of my father passed away, had to bury him. So putting money there, helping with other things, helping my friends get out of their current position into a digital marketing field. If I didn't do that, I would be of no help in those situations. So
wow, man,
it paid off, not just for me, but for everyone around me.
Yeah. Wow, you said a lot, and I'm sorry to hear about your father. My condolences. Wow, that's a really powerful thing to share, all of that. I didn't think of it like that either. So if you had stayed in your grad program, what would have happened to you? I'm just curious.
Let me tell you what the people that are there doing right now. So most of them have either transferred to another unit. So it was a very heavily funded research developmental project in agriculture. But just looking back, so the main professor, he went to another university that paid more. So that program kind of got dissolved or faded away. So either most of the students that were working there, the ones that were actually doing results, followed him to another university or went to like another research university. And they're still there to this day, still working on trying to get a multiple PhD, who knows what. Others are teachers, others work as a teacher, others work in they completely switched to like trying to be a nurse or something like that. And others just completely dropped out and are just down in Texas still. And so they're not making the kind of money you're making.
And
Absolutely not.
it's funny because I think about these things. I think about things like engineering and nanotechnology. We need people to do things like this. We need agriculture is very important. Engineering is very important. And I'm not trying to knock those fields. It's just that someone like you, a person like you should have the freedom to pursue what you see as the right path. And clearly, your choice put you at odds with your family, your community. And I'm just really proud of you and happy that you stuck with it, because a lot of people would have been discouraged by that. And I think it's a really funny, kind of beautiful immigrant story, because you took the story and you put a real twist in it, because you got into college. You're obviously very bright. You got into this, got a full scholarship, and then you dropped it out. And they all thought you were like throwing your life away, but it was the opposite.
They couldn't see it at the time. And that's what one thing I learned from after going through the course is that one of the most important things you can do is to find the right teacher and follow, even if you just find the right teacher and give it at least 3 to 4 months and just follow what they're saying exactly. And then just see what happens. Because when I was working in Atlanta, a lot of young people asked me how to do this. I told them exactly, take Seth's course, do what he says. And then I said they try, they go for like a week, they try it, and they tell me, they give me a message, I think I'm just gonna do it my way.
Oh,
so I'm like, why won't you just listen? And I'll just do it my way. So they try it their way, try it their own way, try and do whatever they want, try and like do everything at once, be like a Superman. And then a year later they send me a message, can we talk about what you're saying again, or 2 years later they send me a message. And not just even with people that do the course, I found like a lot of people I told them to do the course, they do the course, and then they tell me that they're not having results. So then I start to ask them, did you do generating your own experience? Well, I didn't do that one yet. What?
Guys, I'll tell you, I didn't mean to repeat this, but whether you're in the course or you're going to take it, it really is that simple. And when I was younger, I sympathized because I didn't like to follow directions when I was younger. I don't think a lot of young people do. I wanted to do everything my own way. But it's true. I put the course together in a certain way, and if you follow the steps, you'll get the results. And that's just how it is. And I have the exact same experience. In fact, I had somebody message me the other day, and they said, I sent out all these applications. I haven't heard anything. And I forgot. I'm so passionate about helping people. Sometimes I even forget that you have to just, I always have to go back to the most basic questions. And usually the first question I ask is like, did you do everything in the course? And did you customize all your applications? And I forgot to ask that. And I was like, oh, what about this? What about that? I'm like trying to, and then I went back and I said, how did you send out all those applications at once? If you can't customize 80 applications. So it's like 99% of the time, it's that somebody didn't follow the directions. And you and a lot of, other people I've interviewed, it's like at whatever point, whether it happens right away, like it did with you, or some people, they go, they take the course and then a year later, they really get serious. You get those types of results. Now your results, you did everything I say. You got an entry-level job making $40K, which was great. And I think you said to me something like, even if your other field, that's what you would have been making after like a few years. Like that wasn't even entry-level salary in the field you were in. So you were already making more than you would have made. So how did you get from $40K at your first job with no experience to your current position working for one of the biggest retailers in the world, making 6 figures?
It's a long journey, but I don't know how much time you have. But what I can say is having the moxie to make the right decisions on campaigns and getting the results starts to get, I don't say get your name out there, but it increases your value towards the company, and it teaches you. So like, just for example, like a quick story from Kigo, this is where I worked in Atlanta. Within the first 2 months, I was the first person they hired that went directly to an SEM analyst role. So usually they hire someone, they start them in like something called LLM, which is just copy and paste, basically Google ad listings, like Google Maps. I was the first person to go straight from hire to an SEM analyst. And then within not only that, but within 2 months of me working there, they gave me the biggest account and the most difficult account to manage. So of course, some people didn't like that. There's a little bit of jealousy, not from my team, but from us, the other guys that worked their way they went from being there for 10 years, working their way up from the beginning all the way to being a director, media manager, or whatever. So some didn't like it, and of course they saw my background. This is just a real guy from Texas. What does he know? Why are we listening to him? So there's a lot of pushback and forth. But there's one company is about mold removal that was having a lot of trouble. Basically, in terms, it's on my LinkedIn, like the results, but for one of them, the CPC was about $700 or $600, or CPC was about from $50 to $125, and the cost per conversion was $700 plus. So as you can imagine, they called the company. It's Green Home. That's the company that I was working with. That's the mold removal company. Then it was in Kigo. They called Kigo and they told that they're gonna quit. They're gonna stop.
I'm just gonna cut you off for 1 second because this is cool, guys, because we don't always get into the weeds here, but we're talking about some actual digital marketing stuff. So CPC is cost per click. By the way, guys, that's when I worked I was working for a drug rehab center. When he says cost per click, what that means is there's certain industries. If you do a Google search for like a DUI lawyer or whatever, I don't know exactly what industry. I was going to ask this my next question, but some industries like insurance, car insurance, if you do a Google search and you click on one of those ads, that means somebody just paid $50 or $80 for you to click. That's highly competitive, highly profitable industries. And what kind of industry was this? What kind of company was this?
This was a mold removal. So
it's not
the most sexy product, but there's a lot of competition, especially in like the northwest, northeast.
Right. Mold is huge. Florida too, right? Like yeah. So they called you in because again, when people are paying that much per click and it's costing that much to get a customer,
you're not happy.
It's tough. Yeah. So
they threatened to leave Kigo, and then so basically I started having about 4 to 5 meetings a week with the CEO, the SEM team, which is our team, the web development team, the SEO team. So search engine marketing, SEO, search engine optimization team. I all started having collaborative meetings, the directors, the marketing directors, the account managers. And let's just say, this company was paying them $40,000, or it was north of $35,000 a month they were going to lose in revenue directly to the company. So you can imagine that people weren't very happy. So going to the meetings, of course, there's a couple explicitives, people were upset. And long story short, after like 2 weeks of all these meetings, or 2 weeks and the third week of all these meetings, the CEO of our company just looked at me and said, after all the cursing and swearing and stuff like that, he looked at me and says, "Can you take care of it?" I just gave him the thumbs up. That's all I did. And from that point, they finally gave me full control over the account. So then I went to work, and it wasn't easy to change it or to bring it back, because a lot of times if account is set up the wrong way, it's been running a long time, has 40,000 keywords, it's a lot of work to bring it back. It's easier to start the right way than to fix, especially when it's that bad. So I went to work, and after about 4 months now it was like 8 hours a day, I was looking at the numbers, crunching data, going into Excel sheet, making graphs, all that kind of stuff. After 4 months, the whole Green Home account had the lowest CPCs they had in their history with the entire brand.
Wow.
So that when I had a cost per conversion of $700, it went down to $150. Now, of course, it's not like, it doesn't sound as good, but $700 to $150 is beautiful.
No, that's incredible, guys. Just so you understand, conversion rate is the cost to get a customer. And then, of course, there's your profit margin, because I don't know how much a customer is worth in that industry, but paying $700 for a customer, again, it depends on the industry. If you're selling a college degree and you're going to make $60,000, $70,000, it doesn't matter. But for most local businesses, you don't want to pay $700 per customer. To drop it to $150 is like, what is that? That's half as much. That's like a quarter as much.
Yeah, a quarter.
Do the math.
Yeah,
it's much less.
Decreased by about 80%.
Yeah, 80%. That's an incredible milestone. That's an incredible accomplishment. It sounds like you worked really hard to accomplish that. So
it was
what you're
scary.
saying, and what I like about what you're saying, guys, what he's saying is, you want to take the enthusiasm that you get from the course and from your learning about digital marketing, from experimenting, and just bring it. And I did the same thing at my last in-house job that I had. I was experimenting with things. I was trying things. I was talking to the director of marketing. Can we try this? Can we try that? I was making adjustments. That's what people want in this industry. They want results, but they're also, they want people who are going to make those bold changes like you did. And so what happened in your job after that?
So I would say, just like a caveat there. So a lot of companies are the good companies, not saying anyone's a bad company, but the companies that want to do the best for their customers want people like that. But other companies that offer like a box product, they don't like you getting outside of the box. So just going back in time before, when I first started there, because they didn't think I was qualified, I decided there's 2 keywords. One had a really high cost per click, and one had a low cost per click. So I decided to lower what we were paying for clicks down like 20%. Because they didn't know I was doing, they didn't trust me yet. I had 3 talking tos for that. So you could see how it was transitioned from being like I was a new guy, didn't know what I was doing, to having complete control over one of the most difficult accounts. So going back to the end of the story, so at the end we lowered the cost per conversion, and then the cost per click went from $125 to $52. And I did the math correlation about like how much they made talking to like the CEO of their company. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think in the month of September they made about upwards of $7 million is what what gross income. Now that's not including like paying their coworkers, the transportation, the mold removal chemicals. But in terms of gross amount of dollars generated, it was about north of $7 million just for September. Wow. That was when they had the best performance. So wow. they gave me employee of the month for that. Of course, the people that didn't think I was qualified, they weren't happy with that. One tried to say, it's just seasonal. But after digging into the account, it was obviously clear. And they gave me employee of the month. Might have those pictures on my LinkedIn still. And getting employee of the month there and getting that experience and the one thing I'll say is the best thing from that experience is knowing that after you go through the course, you have the skills to fix problem accounts. Because they gave it to me because no one else knew what to do. And I was only my second month in the company. I'm still a new guy, second month.
That's amazing, dude. I mean, you just come out of the course, so you didn't have a ton of experience. So, yeah. You obviously are applying what you learned in the course. So I'm telling you guys, this stuff is powerful information. You guys should remember that. Anyone who's in the course right now and you're doubting yourself, you think you don't have enough information, replay this story. Because like I've told you, there's not a lot of talent, and there's even people that have years of experience in this field may not know as much as you do from the basics that you're getting here.
100% correct. I would like to say when I first started at Kegel, the person that hired me, this is after interviewing me, this is what he told me. You could probably teach me a couple of things. That's what he told the person that hired me at the company. I was like, oh, sounds good. He's a good man. He's working somewhere else now. And what I found out is during the company meetings that they would ask questions about the search market performance, or questions about CPC, questions about DSAs, questions about or RSAs, new types of ads, dynamic insertion keyword ads. And the person that would be answering the questions, because no one knew about it, ended up being me. And that's just because I just finished the course. I was not like and there's the guys that were asking questions of me were working there for like 4 or 5 years. And what I tell people, like some of my friends that go through the course now and they get a little bit discouraged, I tell them, if you do the generating your own experience and you actually get someone to click on your website and to convert, you've probably done more than probably 85% of marketers working in the industry right now. Because most have never, first of all, and when you add in that you put your own money in the game, probably more than 94% of marketers out, 93 to 94% of marketers, because most have never put their own money in the game, and most have never built a funnel from start to finish and actually got a conversion. So yeah, guys, finish that course and you're in the top 10%. Now, I'll be honest with you, in terms of knowledge.
Yeah. Well said, man. And remember, we just interviewed Rain, who interviewed, as a hiring manager, he said the same thing. We interview people who say they have 3 years of experience and they just cannot own their skills. And if you guys are doing these very simple assignments, you're already, as Javier said, you're already ahead of a lot of other people. So this is very, very inspiring. And, we went a little more in depth into your actual job than we normally do, but I think that's great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments too, if you'd like us getting that in detail about things. Because a lot of people watching the video, some people are in the course, but a lot of people are still very new to digital marketing. But you can see hear the excitement in his voice, and one of the things people really love about this field is like, why do people get so passionate about this? It's because it's a creative process. It's experimentation. There's stuff happening. You're making an impact. That's like the biggest thing I found, is that you make an impact. Most other jobs, it's like you're answering a phone or you're typing something into a spreadsheet. You don't matter. You're not, you're just like somebody. Yeah, you're not doing anything useful. But in digital marketing, whether it's a small account or a big account, your choices make a difference. And that's a very empowering feeling. So I'd love to get more in depth into it, but we need to kind of start to wrap it up. I want to know, like, just sort of generally, what happened in your career from this? This is still your first agency job. How did you end up at the Home Depot? Was it your next job after the first one, or did you have a job in between?
I had a job in between, but just like to wrap up the Kegel story. So what happened is they signed on with Kegel for an entire another year. So everyone was happy. And then, so after that, I decided
you should have gotten a bonus, by the way. Did they give you a bonus?
Unfortunately, agencies are not the most, let's just say they have other incentives in terms of performance. Let's just put it that
Some
way.
agencies,
Some agencies, yes.
I tell people, like you said, if you're at a good agency, like I just had a student, Christopher just got hired at an agency that's like almost all commission. It's like there's a base salary and then you're paid based on your the budgets you're managing. So
that's good.
there's so many different agencies that are different, but some of them, they won't, like, they'll give you the employee of the month, which for your first job, that's great.
It was $100, it was $100 bonus. Let me put it that. It was $100 though.
Right. That is, they were getting such a bargain with you, man. So I'm really happy that you leveled up. So tell us, what was the next job?
So the next, as you're saying, what I did is I went back to the course, followed the instructions. You mentioned that Isaac Rudansky is a good guy to learn about to get more into Google Ads. So while I was at my company in Atlanta, I took his course and I started applying to remote jobs. And this is where I had to make a decision. So once you get your first gig for your first job and you're actually working, there's nothing wrong with either decision. You can either go for making money or you can go for freedom. So I had the choice. I had an offer in Atlanta for $125K in Atlanta at the time to stay there, or I had a completely remote job working with some of the biggest home builders in America, but it was completely remote. So I had to make a decision. So it was like probably a little bit more than half of the 125. So I decided to take the remote position. This was before COVID hit, and I moved to the mountains of Virginia. And although I was making less than the 125, the cost of living is a lot cheaper in the mountains of Virginia. I was around the Appalachian Trail. If anyone knows the Appalachian Trail, I went hiking pretty much every single day. So I decided to invest and go down that path of freedom. And what I found is not trying to sway anyone. If you want money, nothing wrong with it. Go get it. But I went the other path, and I found that the more freedom I had, the quicker I could move forward because of developing. Because the real reason that if you go through the course, the growth in your career happens when you're learning stuff on your own time, I would say. And then you make the jump. So I made that jump to to that real estate company. Then from there, I decided to make another jump to another company. Actually, to be honest, I wasn't even looking for the job where I'm at right now. As anyone that has gone through the course, you'll see recruiters reach out. So I decided, let me respond to some of them because there were so many. I responded to some, and it was either between Home Depot or FedEx, those two. And Home Depot won out, so I went to Home Depot. That's just what it was.
That's so awesome, man. And then you're fully remote in this job.
100% remote. 100% remote.
So you went for the freedom, and you still ended up making the money and the freedom.
That's right. The next job, next position, yeah.
That's so great, man. And what I'm curious, what did FedEx? Did they make a competitive offer? Was it remote?
They were giving more, but they wanted you to like drive in the office and go like really relocate to somewhere like in Minnesota or something like that.
Oh,
nothing wrong. So it depends what you, as I said, nothing wrong with either choice. You can go for the big bucks, you can go for the freedom. I decided to go for the freedom. That's just me.
And the big bucks.
You choose. And eventually the big bucks followed.
But you could have
whatever you choose.
Yeah, you could have made more at FedEx, but I totally get that, man. Why would you want to have to live in some town in Minnesota when you could live wherever you want? And but here's another thing. Do they care where you're living? So long as you get
No, they don't care. So I think with some companies they want you to be in the USA, but for this one, like it just says 100% remote. Now I'll just say always verify and check with people. So also you can, as you learn when you get into the industry, people are gonna want your help, so you can help people on the side. But it's completely remote. So eventually I am learning some different languages, and plan on taking my talents over, making American bucks, living overseas is the next step. That's the next step of freedom for me.
That's right. I remember you writing about that. And do you want to share where you plan to go, or is that?
It not a hard set place right now, but probably I have a travel coach. As I said, finding the right teachers and following what they say is very important. So I have a travel coach, and he recommends I stay like on this side of the globe first. So probably like somewhere in South America, maybe Mexico, maybe an island in the Caribbean, maybe Brazil, maybe Colombia, somewhere in South America. Then perhaps maybe somewhere in like an Asian country or Europe or something. But
yeah,
so I learned. Yeah.
Come over here.
That's the next plan.
You have a travel coach? I've never heard of that.
So it's just a guy that he's been traveling outside of the United States for over 13 years, and he helps people start doing that kind of lifestyle. Like, so I would also say after going through the course and having a remote job, I'm already ahead of most people that he coaches, because that's what he tries to get them to do first. But he just tells me he gives me like the lowdown of different countries, what to expect here. what to do, where to live, what to say, what languages, what opens up the doors. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, you should check out the
Find the coach, find the right coach,
Well,
and
I
follow what
think
they say.
I will say this, man. I mean, there's so many great coaches out there. It's a different world. You know, back when I grew up in the 90s, I mean, like you couldn't connect with anybody. There was no internet. You had to go to the library and look at a 40-year-old book. So this is a great resource. And then I made a video about this a couple of weeks ago, just with all the different online resources in terms of researching various countries. But if you can talk to a person who's had firsthand experience, that's like really the best. And it is a great idea. By the way, being a digital nomad, it is a good idea to stay in the what hemisphere? The North America.
We could call it the Western, but
yeah, the Western
how you're looking
hemisphere.
at it.
Because just for the time zone for your job, but the more autonomy you have, and if you can get your work done, I think also Europe. By the way, I mean, if you said you're learning Portuguese, that shouldn't be an issue because you're really just a little bit ahead of people. For the most part, you're like 6 hours ahead, which means that you like stay up. I forget how it works exactly, but Europe is doable. It's Asia is where it gets a little rough because, like you said, you know, it's what is
12-hour difference.
Yeah, it's 9 p.m. here, and it's what 10 a.m. there.
10 a.m. over here. That's
so
right.
that's why it's rough. People ask me about this. I'm like, they really, like I said, some companies will care, some won't, but it's really more about your availability. So like if I was working a job now, this would be the start of my workday in the US and it's 9 p.m., meaning I'm going to be up until 5 a.m. and that's rough.
Yeah.
If it's that type of job, but if it's one where you have more flexibility and autonomy, maybe you have a client meeting every once in a while, you could probably work it out. But if it's a job where you got to be in meetings all day, US time, Asia is going to be rough. And Australia is going to be really rough. That's like
I can't imagine. That's like the complete opposite. You'll be a nighttime shift worker if you're working for $1,000,000.
Yeah, it's even more extreme. But anyway, man, this is very, very exciting. And just to wrap things up, because you did share so much about your family, what does your family think of your life now?
What they tell me is I still don't understand what you do, but we're proud of my dad. My dad was always proud of me, though. He would always be proud of, but it's like when I first got into the industry, because I guess he just would be more proud. So they just say they don't know what I do, but they're happy that I'm happy or whatever. They're happy that I'm able to help out and all that stuff, of course. So that's what they say. They don't know that I don't know what you do, but you're doing good. That's pretty much
that a lot. Guys, it took me about 3 years to get my parents to kind of understand, because they wanted to know. They were like really curious, and it took like 3 years for them to understand, because it'd always be like, so you work with Google, you work for Google, and no, but you make the websites show up, and they'd mix up SEO and PPC, and then finally one day I think I explained it to them like a kindergarten. So here's how Google works, and one day they got it. But one of the best things in the world is when you have a skill set that other people don't understand.
Or it's not well known. Like my dad used to tell people that I work at Google. That's what he would always tell people.
Right.
He has a sibling. He works at Google.
There you go.
That's just what my dad would always say.
What do your parents ever like address the fact that they were like against you dropping out of school?
You know how it's not easy to go back. It's human nature, right?
Yeah.
They'll say, well, I might have been wrong, but it wasn't necessarily the wrong advice because it could have worked out. But you know what I mean? So they don't go back. But I just don't. It doesn't bother me anymore. It's like, well, in some sense, it's a good thing because it really makes you determine on what you want to do. So it could either crumble you or it could either make you a diamond. You know what I mean? The pressure could either destroy you or it could turn you into a diamond. I'm not saying I'm a diamond.
That's a really good point, man. Yeah. And as I make more mindset videos for people, no, that's a really good reminder, because I'm like that. And I think you're like that. You have that intensity. And when I've had things in my life where people have been like, you can't do this, or there's like pushback, it always pisses me off and pushes me harder in a way where, like, you guys, if you're watching this, like, let yourself be inspired. Don't fall down. I like watching sports documentaries. I've mentioned them before. I love watching the Last Dance and Jordan and the Pistons, and how they just hated each other, and the Pistons beat the Bulls, and it just made him so furious that he like hit the weight room right away, and then they finally beat him. So if you have something in your life whether it's a job you don't like or a family member who's gonna be supportive, use it. Use that energy. It can be really good if you get I don't know if you get like angry or just like focused as a result of that. But your story, I mentioned it many times to people when people are complaining that someone isn't supportive. I'm like, this guy had everyone in his family, including the pastor. It sounded like people from the neighborhood were just popping by your house to tell you that you're gonna fail.
You're a bad kid because you don't want to take the opportunities given to you because of their sacrifice your parents made to come to America.
Right.
In front of the whole church. Yeah, I knew they were talking about. I knew it was talking about me.
Right.
I knew he was talking about me. Everyone knew, but I had to make a decision.
Right.
Will I follow their advice just to make them happy, or will I follow the logical decision that I know will give the best results? And that's a tough decision that you have to make.
That's really, we're repeating this, guys, but I know a lot of people need to hear it. I mean, it takes courage, and really, it was actually a very big-hearted thing you did for yourself, because you didn't even realize that your family didn't even realize they love you, they care about you, they're trying to help you, but they just have the wrong information. So, you had to stand your ground. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that because most people's parents are still going to pressure them to go to college and take out debt, and they don't understand digital marketing. And so it's a good perspective too, to have compassion to people that don't understand. It might, again, you can use your focus, or if you get angry, that's cool. But ultimately, every story I've heard from people, it turns out really well, where the family kind of goes, oh,
I can't believe it actually worked.
Right.
That was mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just such a great story, man. And thanks so much for coming back to the channel to share it with people. Hey, can people reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any questions?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about making an Instagram, but I just never, not really big on the social media stuff, but they can reach to me on LinkedIn. But as you can imagine, I get a lot of messages from people nowadays. So if you could include Seth in demand career interview or something like that, so I know exactly and I could respond. And actually after the first interview, a lot of people reached out and I was able to help, I think two out of 5 of them get into the industry. But some reached out on Facebook, some reached out on LinkedIn. But just make sure to put Seth in demand career interview so I know exactly who you are. Because let me just give you an example. I probably get at least 30 messages on LinkedIn a day sometimes. Or in terms of one connection requests, it's a lot. So yeah, that would really help out.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah. And remember, JB, he's here. I mean, he's going to answer your general questions, but ultimately he's going to tell you to take the course because there's 40 hour answers.
It's all in the course. Just turn on the computer, sit down, listen, and do what it says.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah. Cool, man. Is there anything else you want to say to anyone watching or to me before you go?
Oh, well, yeah, just thanks. I'm so thankful that I met you. Or actually, I'll tell you one thing. Since I met you down in Atlanta, I always keep a photo near my desk. You know what I mean?
All right.
That was the greatest experience down in Atlanta because
I totally remember that. Yeah. That was a lifetime ago. That was so great. Send me a scan of that, will you? Because
I send you a picture. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It was great meeting everybody, meeting you and meeting everybody down there. And I'm touched that you keep the picture. That's really
keep it at my desk as encouragement, It's that's right. Learn from the teacher. And it's just always a reminder of being thankful that you took the time to make the course, first of all, and you made it available to the public that I could purchase it. And now it has changed my life. If I didn't take the course, I would not have learned Portuguese. I'd have no intention of going overseas. I'd probably be stuck in a dead-end research job, to be honest, not to be mean to anyone that's in research, hating my life, dying slowly, or without a job because of COVID. I mean, if I think back as a comparison from where I'm right now, that would literally be a nightmare. That's the honest truth. It would be a nightmare compared to where I am right now.
Yeah.
So I keep it as just a reminder, always be thankful. And yeah.
That's wonderful, man. I'm really touched by that because, I said this before, I was, it was 6 years ago, I was alone in my bedroom making the course. Mm-hmm. And I pushed and pushed. And I remember I never really doubted it, but there's always a question of like, will this actually work? Will anybody be interested in learning how to get a digital marketing job? And it's very gratifying to hear that. And yeah, man, good to connect with you again. So let's stay in touch. I'm excited to see where you go from here. Definitely keep me posted on your travel plans, and we'll talk soon.
And maybe next video will be you'll see like a beach in the background, perhaps, huh?
That sounds awesome, man. I don't doubt it. I'm sure you can do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Javier. And again, we'll talk again soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again, Seth. And everyone in the course, push forward. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's light at the end of the tunnel.